coming up on the Body Wisdom Podcast. Because it's not overly complicated. It's really simple stuff. It's just slowing down and being intentional to apply some of these things that are life-giving and health-promoting. And so I'm thankful that you mentioned that, because it really is. Welcome to the Body Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Nutritional Therapy and Wellness Podcast. We're still the official podcast of the Nutritional Therapy Association, still on the same mission, just a fun new name, beautiful new branding, this amazing new podcast studio for season 2. At the Nutritional Therapy Association, we believe that our health is within our control, and we want to equip you to grab the reins and thrive. We're each bio-individuals, which means there's no one-size-fits-all approach to wellness. But we do know this: everyone gets healthier when they focus on what actually makes us healthier. Nutrient-dense diet, proper digestion, balanced blood sugar, quality sleep, stress management, and all of the subcategories of each of those that we collectively call the foundations of wellness. This podcast is a megaphone to call in recruits who want to join us as we spread truth, revitalize hope, and heal for generations to come. I'm Jamie Belz. Welcome to the Body Wisdom Podcast.
Looking to finally resolve your stubborn symptoms or curious about pursuing a future career in wellness? Take the NTA's Healing Path quiz and discover which path fits your goals. In just a few quick questions, you'll learn if a professional credential, like the Nutritional Therapy Practitioner program, is right for you. Or if you're in a season of personal healing, you may find that our 6 weeks Foundation of Healing course or working one-on-one with an NTP is the best place to start. Wherever you are, the Healing Path quiz helps you get clear on your next steps. Head to nutritionaltherapy.com/quiz to take the free quiz and start your healing journey today.
Hey, Mike, Lind, Katie, Allison, thank you so much for being here today. I am thrilled to dive back in with you. This is part 2 or the follow-up. I wasn't quite sure what to title it, but nonetheless, circling back from last fall when I got to hear about your beginning the NTP course, and now here we are circling back towards the end of your course. You're about to graduate. You've got just a little over a month left. Mike Lind, talk to me about the course as a whole. Talk to me about the Nutritional Therapy Practitioner course you've been in.
Well, I can't believe it's been a year. It's been amazing. I've enjoyed the instructors and the community groups. There's a great community of students within this group. It's just, and the program fosters that. So it's really wonderful. It's just been a really wonderful journey. And when I first started, I thought, would I ever really be confident enough to have a practice or really help people? Or even in the first 3 months, I was just concerned whether I would have the confidence to do that. But at this point, I am very, very excited about it. I'm very excited about helping people with their health. I feel like I have the information now to help them along their health journey. If they're struggling or if they're doing well and just need a good nutrition plan. Either way, I feel like I'm capable now of helping them. And it's just so fulfilling to think that I can actually help somebody become healthier and help them just live longer with a healthier life. At my age, that's the clientele that I basically have been working with, just to feel better, just to feel as good as you can for as long as you can. So just very excited about it. Grateful for the program.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Allison, I'm coming to you next. What has your experience been over the last year as you've been in the NTP course?
Oh my gosh, life-changing to say the least. Not to hype it up too much. But it's been incredible. Not only has it changed my life and in my career, which take with a grain of salt because I'm 22, but going into radiation therapy, me specifically, learning how to apply nutritional therapy to radiation therapy, but also in a wider scope, just how it's affecting my friends and family and the communities, like Michael was saying, the community in the NTP program and the Nutritional Therapy Association in general is just outstanding. I love it.
That's so great. We'll dive in. I want to dive into so many things with you today, and we have to try to keep it, concise, because I feel like I could just rabbit hole with each of you individually for 2 hours to hear all of these things. And it's interesting because we have the course in as Mike Lind and Allison, have you both spoken about, using this as your career endeavors, but we'll also get into some of the personal side. And that's where I'm going to pitch it to you, Katie. Talk about how this is equipping you for your career, but then let's segue into what about you personally, health-wise?
Yes, I agree with both Allison and Mike Lind. The year has gone by. It's been fast and furious, but good. And as we've segmented through the different parts of the program and now are working with practice clients, it's been a blessing to be able to say, hey, like I'm actually recalling this information and I can apply it, and have had the opportunity to flex my muscles some as we've gleaned the information that we've learned along the way. So that's been super cool to see it come full circle in that perspective or in that way. And personally, I've been posting on social media throughout my whole journey, and it's been fun to get interaction and share with the things that I'm learning. And I was recently reflecting on just the different things that I've included in kind of my regimen as we've been learning and gleaning from the 5 foundations. And one thing that I've done every day, sometimes 3 times a day, but at least twice a day after meals, is a 5-minute walk. And that's made such a difference. I've unintentionally lost weight that I attribute to that. Sleep has gotten better. I'm not as foggy in the afternoons as well. And so it's been very just eye-opening to see the things that we're learning, whether big or small, how you're applying them, how they can impact you on a daily basis. And, it's not these gigantic things necessarily that we're applying to our lives or asking our clients to apply to their lives, but they're simple, practical, everyday things that if you just pause for a moment, you can include them in your days and see the benefit from them.
Love what you said, because it's everything inside of me is like, yes, because it's not overly complicated. It's really simple stuff. It's just slowing down and being intentional to apply some of these things that are life-giving and health promoting. And so I'm thankful that you mentioned that, because it really is not overly complicated. And I think that's why it's often overlooked, because people don't recognize the exponential benefit from some of these really simplistic things. And I think that should be the title for this episode. I'm going to pitch that to the production team: accidental weight loss. I feel like it's like having a free beer sign or something. Like, give me some of that accidental weight loss. Allison, talk a little bit about some of the personal health things that you've tried, implemented, have things that have worked for you and your personal health status.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've also been doing those postprandial walks, and they're amazing. I mean, weight loss really isn't my goal, but just like energy wise, and I just feel so much better after a good 15-minute walk. But other than that, I guess like the personal side tangent, I'm training for a marathon, and hydration and electrolytes are so important. And when we went through way in the beginning, I think it was in nutrient dense diet, we learned about mineral balance. And if you're just drinking your water blank, it's probably diluting your minerals to a degree. And the addition of natural salts and lemon that carry those electrolyte minerals can really help replenish and have your cells functioning optimally. So I found that's just incredible for my training. And, I'm never lightheaded. I feel like my blood pressure is really great, kind of all those signs without having to take some of those more suspicious looking electrolyte supplements, to say the least.
The goop packets and all those things that marathoners do. And it's just like, no, don't do that to yourself, right? That's so great. I'm excited to hear how your run goes, and fueling and like you said, proper hydration. I'm one of my first clients that I ever worked with. She came to me trying to find help for running a marathon. And it was so fun working with her because just applying those foundations of health and getting her on a nutrient dense diet that included fats. For her, it was that she was fat phobic for her entire life, basically. And we started slowly incorporating those fats. And that was what was the major change and shift for her in her marathon time. So I know that those foundations can really apply in this area, as with all of them. Mikeland, I'd love to hear your take on the personal health side of this as you've gone through the last year of the NTP course.
Well, I always felt that I was health conscious, but I didn't eat breakfast. So I was always one of those people that ate around 11 o'clock and, get up in the morning, get going. And I would have an energy drink, not a carbonated, it was a vitamin drink, and have that. And then really didn't feel hungry till about 11 o'clock. And so just, and when somebody would say, oh, you need to eat breakfast, I'd go, oh, no, I just am not hungry in the morning. Well, one of the instructors told us about his fiance, that he asked her to just start eating one egg in the morning. So I decided I would try that. So I get up and I have an egg in the morning, and felt so. What I noticed, especially for someone my age, my energy level was just so much more steady during the day. So I began to have 2 eggs in the morning with cook it with some good healthy butter, and had that in the morning. And then I began to add avocado and make kind of an avocado toast and 2 eggs. And so I do that every morning now. And the most significant thing is I used to take like a 10 or 15 minute nap in the afternoon, every afternoon. That was just something I would do. Just think, oh, it's good for you. It's what I'll do. And I was genuinely tired. I don't feel that anymore. I feel now I eat lunch as well and dinner, and focus a lot on protein, not a keto diet. I eat a whole foods variety, but make sure I get my protein in during the day. And my blood sugar has just become so steady, and I don't wake up in the night anymore. Like I used to wake up occasionally, like 2 or 3 in the morning, but I think because my blood sugar level is so steady during the day, I keep it so steady during the day, I'm able to, produce the hormones that I need to produce to sleep at night, and I don't wake up in the night anymore. It really balanced my body. That was significant for me.
The balance factor is huge. Our bodies are always trying to achieve homeostasis, and we're just constantly throwing things at our bodies from every which direction, mentally and physically. I actually have a podcast episode, so I won't spoil it too much. I have one coming up about, I just did a 40-day fast of stimulants, and that leveling out is so huge. It's like, and it happens once you get your blood sugar regulated too. It's like, I'm no longer, doing this hangry thing where it's, constantly, up and down with my blood sugar, up and down with my energy levels, up and down with my sleep quality, and all of those things. It's like once you start to balance some things out, everything else levels out, and it's a really wonderful place to be. And then you start randomly losing weight, right, Katie? That's I tell people all the time, we don't focus. We don't focus on the symptoms. True. We focus on the foundations, and those symptoms just kind of go away. Our bodies naturally level out. And I'd love to throw it back to whoever wants to take it in kind of a popcorn round. I'd love to hear more of these things that it's like, I learned about this, applied this, and these were my results. And if not for you, maybe it's other people that you've shared this information with and seen great results. If you have anything like that you'd like to share with the cause and effect, I'd love to hear your personal stories.
One thing that comes to mind for me is I've struggled with sleep for years. Part of that was working in a restaurant industry and having that lifestyle, and my circadian rhythm was definitely off. And so as we've learned about sleep, but also how all the other foundations play into each other, doing simple things to impact my sleep in a positive way, I've really seen just the pendulum change on that. I used to sleep 3 to 4 hours, and then it'd be waking up until I woke up off and on throughout the night. And now I get a good 5 to 6 hours every night, prior to waking up. And so I know that getting sunlight in my eyes first thing in the morning is beneficial to that. I know that, like Michaelin said about getting the protein in, I wasn't eating enough protein. And so making sure my meals have protein and all of those things then play part to setting me up for success for having a really good night of sleep. And so it's been huge for me to see those small things, stair step on one another to allow me to then have a full night's rest, where I'm actually waking up rested, where I used to not have that opportunity to do that. So
I want to ask both of you, and talking about sleep and talking about food and those meals throughout the day, when do you stop eating? Because I've noticed that if I eat too late in the evening, like I want to give myself a good 4 hours. Otherwise, I do notice that it impacts my sleep. But if I go to sleep pretty much in a fasted state already, I feel great. Have you noticed similar things with when you like stop eating for the day?
Absolutely. My husband and I now really try to time our meals where we eat dinner by 6 o'clock. And so we're done by 6 o'clock and not eat anything after. And we did have some unintentional weight loss doing that as well. And so, but I mean, just stopping then, and then you just feel so. But here's the kicker, Jamie, is we've made sure we've had enough calories during the day, right? So we've had our 3 meals, we've had enough protein during the day. So by the time we have dinner, and we've eaten dinner, we've had enough calories. So, we're not calorie deficient for, our body. So then we go to bed at 10, and that's when it just kind of blew us away how it helped us just like stay asleep and go through. We started talking about our dreams. We were having REM sleep and dreaming, and we could wake up and talk about, we couldn't believe I'm actually dreaming and I can remember it. So that was a big step for us, and it's been really helpful. So yeah, we try to eat by 6:30.
Katie, do you stop at a certain time? Do you have a cutoff where it's like, I'm done eating at this time?
Yes and no. So, we've talked about in school bio-individuality. And so prior to learning about sleep and digestion and all of that, I would eat a snack most nights before bed, but it wasn't protein, filled and things like that. And so once I learned the benefits of giving your digestion time to do the things that it needs to do so that when you get to sleep, your body can do those things, I have reallocated like the time frame in which I eat. And so I do try to stop 2 to 3 hours before bed, but there are some nights where I realized I didn't eat enough or have enough, like a good balance of my macros in my dinner. So then I'll make sure I have, some protein and fat, a little bit of something before bed. Because I've realized for me, if I do go to bed where I already have that little bit of hunger pain, then I will wake up in the middle of the night or not sleep as well. But learning that has shifted my perspective on things. And generally, yes, I try to 2 to 3 hours before bed stop the eating process.
Yeah. And one of the things that I will kind of screen my hunger with is it's like, are you hungry for meat, eggs, those types of things later at night? And if that's the case, then I'll go ahead and trust that my body actually does want more protein. But if I'm more leaning towards the like popcorn, ice cream, cereal, chips, those types of things that sound good at late at night, I'm like, nah, I think I just need to go to sleep and wake up and start fresh in the morning.
It's a good litmus test.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes, exactly. Allison, you were going to say something before. Talk about what you've noticed personally with your health changes since joining the NTP course.
Yeah, I think just one of the biggest impactful foundations we've gone over is blood sugar regulation. And I can say that for everyone, right? You can be at, you're wellest of well, and you're probably still a little dysregulated, right? It just happens day to day. But after reading the Glucose Revolution, it was a game changer. Not just for me, it was impacting everyone in my life. I had friends who were buying it for friends. Like everyone was getting this book. And the implementing some of the strategies like eating your veggies first, right? Having fiber first, that's going to create a viscous lining in your small intestine, kind of slow that absorption of glucose. Also taking apple cider vinegar shots or incorporating some sort of vinegar, everything, all these micro changes, simply just to kind of blunt that glucose curve. They're very impactful, and it's more or less addicting to kind of get that really good feeling of you're not going to spike and crash, and all these little tips and tricks where I would start off doing them and then I'd kind of peter off, and then people around me were like still doing them, like eating their veggies first, and I was like, oh, okay. So like that's a practitioner bias too, of you can practice things bio-individually, and if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, move on. I'd say give it a good 30 days if you're really going to try to, implement anything. But it's just so fascinating to see the loved ones around you really enjoy these changes and enjoy feeling good.
Yes. You brought up books. Mikeland, what was your favorite book, or which book have you found yourself going back to, referring others to? What about the books from the curriculum?
I liked stress a lot. I really enjoyed the book about stress a lot. It was eye-opening. And sleep, Why We Sleep. There's a book we read called Why We Sleep that was fascinating. It was just fascinating. It just made me respect sleep and made me respect just everything that happens to our body during sleep, everything our body's doing during sleep. It really kind of set the pattern for me or at least the mindset of, what am I doing today to help me get a good night's sleep tonight? And it starts in the morning, right? So helping your sleep cycle starts in the morning. So because your body repairs your brain when you get a little bit older. I'm 66, and what I've noticed, if I don't have a good night's sleep, my memory, as far as forgetting names or just forgetting things, brain fog, I guess is what you call it, happens a lot more quickly. And so just getting that good night's sleep, it's important, because that's when your body repairs itself. That's when it's regenerating. That's when you're processing everything that you've seen and looked at during the day. So it's huge. It's really important.
I remember all of you mentioning the first time that we talked about the sleep module and how impactful that was. And it's fun to hear that that's still sticking with you. And sleep is one of the most underrated things when we are just full throttle forward in this go, 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 who's the busiest, somehow that earns us a merit badge here in the United States. And it's not. It's that sleep is so important. I often say the best pre-workout is a good night's sleep. And
Yes.
whether that's getting up to go to the gym in the morning or getting up to just do your day with intentionality and joyfulness, sleep is a key factor in all of that. And I love what you said about good quality sleep starts that morning. How are we proceeding through our day? What are we doing in order to ensure that, right? And this applies to all of the things, whatever it is that's coming up. If we move through our days with intentionality to be able to get good sleep, well, that's part of being intentional and getting a good workout in the morning. And it's, being intentional of what, and what we're eating and just all the things that we're doing. It's really, the battle cry in a lot of this is intentionality, and getting that good restorative rest is a key component to all of it. Which book stood out the most to you, Katie?
So I really liked, I believe it was called the Digestive Wellness book. Just with having GI issues and Crohn's disease, that's been something that's been a part of my life for so long, and have learned a lot on my own. And then being in school, obviously, was exposed and learned so many more things about digestion. But I read that book cover to cover, and I know it's something that I'll refer back to as I'm working with clients and helping them support their digestion and GI issues as well.
Yeah. Have you noticed any differences, any symptomatic relief in your Crohn's status?
I have, yes. I you know, one of the things I forgot when we started working with clients, I remember a community group call we were on, and I was asking Patty about, you know, my client is showing X, and well, I'm not sure what all I need to do to support them, what recommendations I should make. And she said, north to south process. And that is, it's simple, but it's so complex, right? Like eating starts in our brain, the way we're chewing, the way we're thinking about food. Am I entering into eating in a stressed state? All of those things. And so circling back to some of the things that Allison and Michaelin said just about the simplicity of it all. But yes, I've noticed, I know that my body oftentimes is in a sympathetic nervous state instead of a parasympathetic state. And so the things that I can do to prepare my body to be more relaxed in eating, the breathing, the being cognizant of what I'm eating, putting my fork down, chewing.
Yes.
I used to hoover my food, and then not to be too graphic, but you know, in digestion, we talked about the Bristol stool chart. And so I have somebody with Crohn's disease. I've always looked at my stool, but looking at it more so. And I'm like, I need to be chewing more thoroughly. So I have noticed, just being cognizant on the front end and starting things in my brain that have allowed for less gas, less bloating. My stools have become more formed again, which is great for me. And my GI doctor likes hearing that as well. So I'm super grateful for just the things that we've learned and the ways in which we can apply those things to see the benefit of our foundation short and long term.
Yes, there's I will say it and say it and say it again. Go back and watch the digestion episodes. I will put a link in the description of this episode to send you back to listen to them. It's optimal digestion, how it's supposed to work, and then the dysfunctional digestion. And there are 2 different episodes that you can jump in on if you're listening right now. If you haven't viewed those, they're the founder of the NTA, Gray Graham, working through those. And he does a magnificent job in explaining how it all works, because it so makes a difference when we're being, again, intentional in that space, how we're eating, and just what we're doing while we're eating. It makes a major impact on our overall health and how our body is able to break down, absorb, and assimilate those nutrients from the high quality foods that we're eating. Allison, I'd want to pitch it to you and ask you, talk a little bit about the classroom environment, because this is something that makes our program, the NTP course, so unique in that you're not just going through an autopilot, on-demand, self-paced course. You're in a cohort. You have classmates like Mike, Lind, and Katie working through this with you. Talk about what that environment is like.
Yeah, I completely agree. You're not isolated at all in the NTA in general. Definitely not in the NTP program. I, having gone through COVID, still in secondary education, and then going through multiple universities where I've had online courses, I would say that the NTP program has been the most peer-to-peer connection I've ever had. We, as kind of just an overview of how our classes are set up, we'll have about an hour and a half of a call where we're on Zoom, so we all see each other. And then we typically have breakout rooms. So that's like 3 to 5 people. And everyone in the NTP program kind of is in that same vein of wellness. No matter what their background is, we all have that same end goal to just work as optimally as we can, which is quite unique. You'll see in a lot of just like work or school settings where you're there for a common goal, which is biology 101. But at the NTP program, we really have that core value of the foundations of wellness at our heart, no matter where we're coming from. So I find that just extremely unique.
Thank you for that. Michael and Katie, what about your classroom experience? Do you have anything else to add for someone who doesn't really know what it's like, or just any sentiments that you have to share about your experience?
I love the instructors. They've been wonderful and amazing, and you have chances to call them if you are, have set up Zoom meetings with them. If you have questions, they're always responsive and always so kind. And I always feel like I ask 1,000 different questions, and they go, "Oh no, that's great. We love questions." So I can, but they're patient and loving, and they really promote an atmosphere of community. I can say I have made some lifetime friends. Within this community. And so that and you're right, Allison, it's because we all have a common goal, right? And we all have a common purpose. And so within that, when we break out into like community, we have community groups that you can hop on different sessions, and you get to know some of the other students. And it has been, and then we have a texting chain that I have learned so much just through the student texting chains that we have through our Career Compass. So it's important because not only have I learned so much from the instructors, and they're brilliant and they've been amazing, but I've also learned so much from my fellow students as well. So it's just a wonderful community that I don't ever plan on not being a part of.
It is. It is. And I really hope that we have some in-person things down the road because, and thankfully, I mean, the online course, the online platform allows accessibility for anyone, right? We don't have to physically be there, but the real people factor, you have real classmates that you're working through this with, and they ask super intelligent questions, and then you get to learn from them, and a real live instructor who has clinical experience to bring that wisdom into the classroom. And like you said, to be able to just reach out and ask questions and work through this together. Not only is it the accountability side where it's like I'm showing up and and it's not easily just brushed to the side. I think online courses, the completion rate is somewhere between like 3 to 5% of
Wow.
courses that are purchased that people sign up for it, the best of intentions, but then it just goes to the wayside. And I love the accountability in this, as well as the real people. And when we get some conferences coming up and those in-person events, I can't even tell you guys how amazing it is to be in this group of other NTPs, everyone from the NTA community, and be like, these are my people. And it just feels so good. And everybody's
Mhm.
chowing Kerrygold butter together. And it's
That's right.
it's just good stuff, good people. And the commonality in everyone is, like Allison said, it's just we're all just trying to be as optimally healthy as we can be bio-individually. And because of the experiences that we've had in feeling better and better and better and better, we want others to feel that, how healthy feels feeling too,
Mhm.
So it's really cool. Kate, did you have anything else to add about the classroom experience, or kind of more that side?
Yes, just echoing what both Allison and Michaelin said, one of the things I've really appreciated is the discussion threads that we have. So we've got a peer one that is, eyes are laid on by the instructors as well, but it's peer-to-peer asking questions or us responding. And then there's also an instructors forum as well. And I haven't posted a ton in either one, but I read them regularly. And I know
Mhm.
there's been several times where I've copied and pasted information that's
Mhm.
been communicated in either one of those threads, whether it's different protein powder options or blood sugar regulation, links or things like that. So it's been super helpful because sometimes I have not necessarily thought of a question, but then somebody else, either in the peer or the instructor forum, has asked a question. And I'm like, oh, that's a really great question. And so those have been helpful to have access to and look at. And yeah, I I grew up or went to school in an era where we didn't do a lot of online classes. That was few and far between. Wasn't quite sure what to anticipate coming into something like this. And although I can't reach out and touch Allison or Mike Lind, it is nice to see them across the screen. And We have two different class options. And so typically, I think most people attend the same class option every week. And you'll notice when some of your peers aren't there. And then because we've communicated, outside of class, you're like, hey, so and so, where were you on Wednesday? And so just because they're not sitting right next to me, they're sitting across the screen, or they're not sitting across the screen and wondering, where they are. But I like Michael and say, of course I've made friends, but also there's been a group of us that were doing Career Compass and got to rally together and have been meeting regularly, discussing that and just talking about things. And I told them that we're potentially looking at, future business partners as well. You never know what the Lord will orchestrate and how doors will open and what opportunities will present themselves. And so I would say don't discount or discredit any relationship, whether that's with a peer or an instructor, because you never know, what may come from just having those relationships personally and professionally.
Yes, yes. And you spoke beautifully to both sides of that, the professional side. Man, I love the connections that I've made for, my professional endeavors in the last 10 years since going through the NTP program. Those connections have been huge for career pathways and opportunities for collaboration. And on the personal side, I could pour my heart out to you for so long about the connections that I made in that space. And what you said is so heartwarming when you have the closeness of community where people notice when you're gone. That is such an important aspect to make sure we're addressing. There was that, I did a podcast episode with Patty, one of our instructors. She was referenced earlier here, and we did that Lost Connections, talking about depression and anxiety and those mental health issues that really all stem back to community and belonging and those connections that we have. And so even though it is an online platform and we're doing this all virtually, it is very much real connection and real people, real friendships, real relationships. So thank you very much, all of you. I want to throw this one out, and whoever wants to answer, please do. Anything unexpected, little challenging, something that you kind of went, "Ugh, I don't know, good, like, we talked a lot about the good, any bad? Is there anything in there that was a big struggle or you had a tough time with?"
I think, but I think I've always had this. I've had a tough time with test taking. And so, yeah, so it's always, and that's been a lifelong struggle. I just panic before tests. So, that's been something when I entered into this, I thought, oh, how am I going to do with these tests and how am I going to with assignments? And it's not even that I don't study enough. I just panic when it comes to tests. But I will say this, that I had contacted a couple of three. Well, first of all, some of our friends, some of the friends that I've met, some of the other students contact me. We will often text before test or big assignments due. And we'll go, how's it going? What are you doing? And kind of encourage each other. But then I've also set up meetings with instructors and said, hey, listen, I am really kind of freaking out about this. And they have been so encouraging. Things like, you always answer the questions well. You know what you're doing. You're smart. They're so encouraging. Just sit back. You really, you know the stuff. And so just the encouragement of really, it kind of took a lot of the test anxiety away for me just by what the instructors were telling me when I would contact them, or I'd set up a Zoom meeting with them. So it's just I've actually processed through that to where I really don't have that anymore. But I will say it was the encouragement of my fellow classmates and the encouragement of my instructors that really got me through the first three tests that we took. And then, just, I don't know, it was just, that was important for me because I was very high anxiety about it. So, and thrilled that it just doesn't bother me as much as it used to. So
I have historically been a terrible test taker in the sense of the anxiety. piece of it. And I remember going through, and as long as I knew the material, that I remember after the first one, I came into this without really any anatomy and physiology. I was starting from scratch. I had a marketing background. So, so for me, that was really tough for me as well. And especially being in my classroom, like I had doctors in my classroom, and I'm going, oh my gosh, how am I? And I remember having so much anxiety right away. And then after, like you said, with the support system and getting through that first test, and it's like, okay, I do actually know all of this, because the curriculum prepares you well for it as long as you put in the work.
That's right.
And I remember that eased for me. It's funny because 10 years ago, and I still remember that, Michaelin, that was the testing anxiety for the first test. And then after that, I learned to trust the process. As long as I study
Yes,
it, I'm
that's
good.
right.
And that is something worth mentioning if you're listening right now. We have a variety of different entry points. People come in high school diploma to literal doctorate degrees, and the course works for everybody, because this is information that largely isn't taught anywhere else. Hopefully that's changing, but for right now, you find it here. What about you, Katie and Allison? Do you have anything that maybe from the coursework itself, or the things that you learned, anything that was a struggle to implement, a struggle to sit on and be like, I don't know if I believe all of that? Is there anything like that that has come up in this journey? Doesn't have to be.
Well, I'd say I was giving Allison. Allison, did you have something?
Oh boy. Struggle to implement?
Like, for instance, and I think I brought this up the last time that we talked, and it was when we got into like the talking about milk, and when they were saying that like most people should avoid milk, and I'm like, my little dairy farmer girl heart from years past, I was like, oh, what do you mean we should give up milk? And then I later learned that, well, what we're talking about is the processed milk, right? The pasteurized, homogenized milk that you get from the grocery store. And then I learned about raw milk and all that. But I remember that being a major snag. I was like, I don't know if I can hang with this crew if they're going to tell me we can't drink milk anymore.
For sure. Okay, wait, I think I have one. Thank you for the story. So time restricted eating, we just talked about it, which is amazing. Is a very valuable thing. We learned that, I think one of our professors said that most people should be having a fasting window between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m., right? And that goes for most of our clientele and kind of the people who are drawn to the NTA. But accepting that as a younger athlete there is some discrepancy in that, in terms of it's sometimes a little more useful for people in their, late teens to 20s to have a protein snack at night, or if they're having a huge energy expenditure throughout the day. And this is like a pretty recent struggle for me too, of just trying to stick to that 7 p.m. cutoff time. And I would always fall short. I'd always get just super, like, extremely hungry after training, and I'd make myself stick to it. And then it was a cycle of like, okay, now I'm eating a huge snack. So like just accepting that there are some basic principles like time restrictive eating, which can be beneficial for a lot of people. But it's only in specific circumstances, and finding that bio-individuality within there.
Yeah. And Katie mentioned that too, with the bio-individuality factor. And so I'm thankful that you're both bringing that up, because that's the secret sauce in all of this, is that what works well for someone else might be the opposite of what works best for you. And what works great for you today might not be what works best for you a month from now. And especially when we factor in female hormonal cycles and all of those types of things, then it's just totally crazy. Katie, what about you? Anything that you struggled with, for just the lesson that it was, or the implementation, or just the challenge behind it?
Well, I will say the whole blood sugar regulation module was It definitely refined me. I would say going into this, I didn't have much knowledge about blood sugar regulation. And the limited knowledge I did have, my assumption was that that was only important for people who were either type 1 or type 2 diabetic or pre-diabetic, or had some predisposition to it. And so as we dove into all of that, I realized that blood sugar regulation is beneficial to everybody, and it's important to everybody, and it impacts everybody. And so I think just having my eyes opened in that way and realizing how important it is, but circling back to the things that you can do that are so easy to impact that, like what I mentioned before about my walking after eating, and the apple cider vinegar or the bitters or things like that, because we don't just get blood sugar spikes when we're consuming white table sugar. There's sugars and carbohydrates and things in a lot of the things we eat. And even if we're eating sugars from natural fruit and complex carbohydrates, depending upon, like Allison mentioned, how you eat them or the order in which you eat them, it all makes a difference. And so realizing and reading the Glucose Goddess Revolution book, realizing every time you eat, you get a blood sugar spike, whether you've eaten a sweet potato with some butter on it, along with some, roasted veggies, or I'm eating a cookie. And every time that spike happens, every time we're eating and that spike happens, our blood glucose levels go up, and we want to keep that curve as flat as possible, so that we don't have, unnecessary glycation in our bodies. But you would have told me any of that prior to our blood sugar regulation module, I would have said, nope, it's not important, only for those people who somehow have diabetes, directly impacting them. And so it was very eye-opening. But I still feel like I've got a long way to go in just not learning all of that, but recognizing those things in myself, or when I work with future clients, and how that then plays into the other things or their health goals that they're desiring us to help them with.
Yes, we are swimming in sugar. Everywhere you look, it's sugar and sugar and sugar. And I used to have a display that I had when I had my practice, and we had, events and things. And I'd set all of these different food items and beverages out on these tables. And then I would stack the equivalent of sugar cubes in front of all of them so people could walk by and see. And man, it's crazy when you start to help people to see, like literally visualize how much sugar is in things like ketchup, barbecue sauce, beef jerky, the fruit snacks and things, and the granola bars and stuff, like so many of the things that we feed our kids or that we view as healthier options, without recognizing that there is so much sugar. Like, why are you putting sugar in my beef jerky? Leave the sugar and the MSG out of my beef jerky, But yeah, so thank you for that. All right. I would love to stay and talk with you all day, but I'm going to throw to each of you the last question, and that is anything that you have that is a very quick and easy, here you go, do this and just see, like, try it for 2 weeks. If for somebody listening right now, say, try this one thing for 2 weeks and see if it makes a difference, because it made a big difference for me, or it's made a big difference for my classmates. Do you guys have any of those quick and easy things that someone can apply? And just case study of one with their own bio-individuality, see if that does make a major impact on their wellness status.
I'd say 80 ounces of water a day. Hydration affects every single part of your body, your digestion, your eye, everything. It affects everything. And so your brain, it helps your brain function well. It affects everything. So just at least try to do, I told my client, 65 to 80 ounces of water a day.
That's a great one, Mike Lind. And make sure, like Allison was talking about before, that those electrolytes are intact, those trace minerals. A lot of people spend the money to get an RO system. They've got this awesome reverse osmosis system, but now that water coming out is hungry water. And so it pulls, it wants to pull those minerals. And so making sure that if you are drinking reverse osmosis water, filtered water, those types, you're adding those electrolytes back in. I use a brand called Concentrace. No kickbacks or anything. That's just what we use. Make sure that you're getting the electrolytes back in that water, and that's a great one. Thank you, Mike Lind. All right, what else?
Well, I could rattle off, thing after thing after thing. But for me, one of the most impactful things that we learned about back, I believe it was in our stress module, was about grounding. And I knew about it, but hadn't implemented it previous to that. And so, weather permitting, my feet are in the grass and I'm journaling and praying most mornings with no sunglasses on. So I'm getting the sunlight in my eyes, but I've noticed a huge difference with grounding. So bare feet in the grass, concrete will work too, but grass the ground is most optimal, but it has lowered my stress and anxiety levels. That's something that I've struggled with off and on in my adult life. And I've had I just came off of a season that was super busy and did not have a lot of time to journal or ground, and noticed I definitely was in my sympathetic nervous state much more than a parasympathetic state. And so whenever you can get your toes in the green grass or on sand or in some water, your body is going to thank you for it.
Yes, that's a really good one too. Thank you so much, Katie.
My pleasure.
Allison?
I'll take a nutrient-dense diet one, I guess. You can't supplement your way out of a nutrient-poor diet. I'm around a lot of gym folks, and a lot of the culture is just popping what they think they're most deficient in, taking sketchy isolates from, name brand stores that probably contain 0% of what the label actually tells them they have. But just get it through your diet. Find what works for you too. I just cooked someone beef liver the other day. He hated it. He did not want anything to do with it. And that's it. Move on to the next nutrient-dense food. But just play around, try new things, and just try to get all your micros and your macros in your diet.
Very good. Challenging. What's the best way for someone to slowly start doing that?
Baby steps. Baby steps. Instead of your white rice, cook your brown rice in bone broth. If bone broth scares you, switch to quinoa. That's a little more nutrient dense. Little switches like that. Even if we're starting baseline, switch your peanut butter. Don't get Jif. Get the natural stuff that doesn't have all the seed oils and everything. Just start reading labels. Start trying to get more of a grasp of covering all your bases for your nutrients.
Yes, that is so important to understand that if you try to do it all, you'll find yourself 5-10 years from now looking back saying, yeah, no, it was too tough and I did none of it. But if you start right now, today, and just have intentionality about how do I make sure I get a good night's sleep tonight? Take Mike Lind's tips of, figure out what is a good stopping point for eating, and, and just as you work your way through, drink more water early in the day. And that way you can kind of taper that off. And so when you're going to sleep at night, you're not going in, setting yourself up for a full bladder, need to use the bathroom in the middle of the night. You're not setting yourself up for a blood sugar roller coaster while you should be sleeping, or the burden of digesting the entire time that you're trying to get into REM sleep. And so, just really incorporating, just one thing here or there. I think Katie mentioned it first, but all of us can attest to the benefit of going for a quick 15-minute walk. Like, you've got somewhere to be, right? I mean, you can take a stroll too if that's where you're at. I'll meet you there, and that's okay. Like I said, one thing, but every time that you get done eating, go for a walk. And that is huge for your overall well-being. It's great for your mental well-being, but it also does help to get that blood sugar balanced out. And so, so just start small, incorporate little things, and see what happens. Be your case study of one, because I don't need a scientific study to tell me how I feel and what's necessarily going to work for me. We lean on science to learn what did work for a bunch of people. And, all of science is fantastic, but ultimately you are you, bio-individually, perfectly so. And so make sure that that if you're listening right now, just try some things and take some friends along with you for the ride. All right, I'm going to circle the table for closing thoughts. Who wants to go first?
Well, I just want to echo what you said, Jamie, about well, what we've all said, just about good, better, best, right? Like simple, easy, tangible things. It Most times people say all or nothing, like I need to lose weight. Well, they go at it for, a couple days, couple weeks, couple months, and then they're burnt out on it. And so start small, make it tangible, and do the things that are going to be, easiest for you to implement. Whatever that is, whether it's switching your peanut butter or turning your phone off at night or going for that walk. But the good, better, best approach really is beneficial for all of us.
Yes, and the best approach is the one you will do.
That's good.
All right, what else?
Yeah, and just kind of going off of that, practitioners are people too. We are still constantly changing ourselves and our routines. We are not absent of any sort of change in that regard, right? I haven't taken an apple cider vinegar shot in 2 months, to be completely honest, but a lot of people around me are. And I got a lot of people on it. So it's just finding what works for you. And like, if you're out there listening, you are not alone. If you are working with an NTP, they're working on themselves as you're working on you. So we are always just working for optimal health at this point.
Yes, we have to buy in on this as a lifelong endeavor. This is there, we can take, before pictures and progress pictures. There is no end date. There is no completion on this until we are done with this earthly vessel that we are in. And
That's
so
right.
absolutely, Allison, thank you for saying that, because I actually just started I just started back on my apple cider vinegar shots. I hadn't been doing that for a while, and I've noticed that my digestion is doing something weird. I think it's the D. We're in Minnesota, and so, Katie, I have to get back to my grounding outside. I've been barefoot in Minnesota has not been possible for entirely too long, and the D and all, just the movement and things that come with summer. I think I'm limping myself across the finish line of winter right now, and then everything changes, and I'll need all kinds of different things. So you're so right, Allison, that don't let that be intimidating to you as you listen to this and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a moving target. Well, it is, but the more you get those foundations fortified, the more fun you can have with this, because you can try this thing or try that thing. We're removing a lot of the variables, and in doing so, removing a lot of those symptoms that come along with the imbalances that we currently have. And so the more we fortify those foundations, the more fun it becomes as we fine tune and really calibrate into some, just a fun space. It gets to be really fun once you reach a point of understanding your body a little bit better, being really nice to your body, and it's really nice back to you, and getting that channel of communication to understand, what's going on with you today, and things will happen, things will arise, but being equipped to know how to handle it, and more importantly, listening to our bodies as they're telling us things, and deciphering the code, because sometimes my body says, no, you're tired, don't go to the gym, and it's lying to me. But other times it does say, no, you're tired, you should probably rest today, and it means it. So you have to get to know yourself very well, and you will as you slowly incorporate these individual things and really become, just more proficient in all of these spaces with all of these topics that we're talking about. Thank you, Allison. Mikeland, what about you? Closing thoughts?
Oh my goodness! After all of you just you said everything. Yes, I think that one of the most important things, and I used to say this to myself a lot, especially when I was losing weight or when I was ill and trying to trying to get back into a good health again, I don't look at it as, oh my goodness, I have to lose weight. Oh my goodness, I'm regaining my health. So instead of like I'm having to do something that I'm having to lose and I am moving forward. I'm regaining my health. And that way to me, it's a whole lot easier, but it's truth. It's kind of like a brain switch. It's kind of like I am regaining my health. So if I do this instead of this, I'm regaining my health. And so, I think that's an important step as far as when you're adding in things nutritionally that are changing, like changing your habits, and every change you make is a habit change, right? So it's hard to do 5, 10 at once. So just one at a time. And every time you do it, just think, I'm regaining my health by doing this. If I take a 10-minute walk after eating, I'm regaining my health. So
Yes. Yes. And when we do things one at a time like that, it might seem like the slowest, most tedious process ever, but it's really efficient and effective in that when you change just one thing, you're best able to understand if it's making a positive impact. And I love that too, Mike Lind. Somebody said to me before, if we'd all start working on healthful aging from a young age rather than anti-aging, one is working with our body and with nature, and the other is fighting a fight that none of us should be trying to battle. And I think that there's so much truth in that, and just really focusing on becoming a healthier version of ourselves every single day, knowing that sometimes that looks like a 2 or 3 steps backwards before we get a forward process. And it's all just part of the discovery of ourselves and what does in fact make us bio-individually optimally healthy. So thank you for that. Thank you all so much. I'm so appreciative of you and your time coming here to be able to share this out. And I thank you, and I can't wait. I'd love to, once you're out and actually practicing and you get your footing under you, implementing this into your career endeavors. You think we can circle back and do another one?
That would be lovely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Thank you all so much. And thank you for being here today, listening to the Body Wisdom Podcast. Now put away your screens, get outside, get barefoot, enjoy some time. And we'll see you next week right back here. Same time, same place. Wow.